Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Procrastinator's Pit Stop. I'm sure that today's guest really doesn't need an introduction, but we're going to give him one all the same. I'd like you to meet David Weiss, better known as Flat Earth Dave, an American conspiracy analyst who has dedicated himself to challenging the very shape of our world. He ditched a high-paying corporate career to start his own venture, then took to the stage with a conspiracy-themed comedy show in New York City. What began as a side passion soon evolved into a full-blown mission, propelling him into the spotlight as one of the most vocal and unapologetic champions of the flat earth theory. Dave, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Looking forward to the discussion, Chris. Thanks.
Oh, and we're certainly going to dive into a couple of very interesting things, I'm sure. A little bit different to what you're used to, but hey, surprise is good, right?
Yeah, we like that.
But
I like that.
before we get into it, we do like to have an icebreaker on this show. And your question today is, what famous person has inspired you the most and why?
And so I'm going to give you this answer, but boy, has that changed. Though early on in my adult life, it was Howard Stern. I listened to him before he was on any of the big stations. He was out of a small station in Connecticut when I was in college. And what I liked about him, besides just being funny and irreverent and not caring what other people think, was that he spoke the truth, no matter how embarrassing it was. And that, his truth. I'm not saying the truth. I'm saying his truth. So, he would admit crazy stuff, and that level of honesty mixed with humor really kind of set my path of being honest and funny, right? My wife's nickname for me is Second Answer Dave, because when anyone asks me a question, the first answer is just for my own humor, and maybe I'll make you to laugh too. Second answer is usually the true answer. But flashing forward, Howard Stern, I can't even listen to the guy anymore. He's so far off the hook and lost in the sauce that, it's amazing that somebody that had such a big influence on me is so lost. It's fascinating, and it's an interesting journey. So there's my answer.
Excellent. And I mean, I guess that sort of ties into that old saying, never meet your heroes.
True. Yeah, never. That I could see that.
Excellent. So, Dave, I'm really interested in your take on procrastination. How do you define it, and what does it mean to you personally?
Yeah, well, procrastination is, I used to procrastinate a lot, but now I just realize that here's the thing. Whenever you have to make a decision, hey, should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I pick this or should I pick that? While you're arguing in your head, trying to figure it out for minutes, hours, or days, you already know the answer, right? You already know the answer. Deep down, you already know the answer, and you could just do it, but you're going to torture yourself and procrastinate for as long as you possibly can. So whenever I have a choice, I make a decision in 1 second, and then I just do it because I don't like waiting for things.
I like that definition, especially just there. But so let's dive into a little bit about your background. Why don't you tell us about your journey and how you got to be to where you are today?
Yeah, so I was working in corporate America, and my buddy and I, we were in the lunchroom every day. We were talking about conspiracies, if you will. And we were talking about, basically it was about the Federal Reserve and the IRS. And every day, more and more people would meet in the corporate lunchroom waiting for us. Oh, Dave and Tim are here. Dave and Tim are here. And it was getting to the point where like the room was crowded with people listening to us. And Tim calls me up one day and says, hey, Dave, I have an opportunity where we can do a podcast out of Stand Up New York Comedy Club. They're opening up a podcast studio. And I said, what's a podcast? I didn't even know at that time. And he's like, it's a recorded radio show. I'm like, all right, sounds cool. He goes, but we have to mix. It has to have an element of comedy. So he has a buddy who is a comedian, Mike Cannon, and we would be the two truth seekers, and he would be the guy that tried to turn everything into a fart joke. And it was a crazy podcast. We went for 3 years, and it went quite viral. It was called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. But then in the third year, people started sending me flat earth stuff. And, we were looking into all the conspiracies. But flat earth, that's a step too far. I'm like, nope, you're stupid. And then they kept annoying me. I would just ban for life. I just kicked everyone off of our social media that even suggested that I look at flat earth. But then my good friend, Sophia Smallstorm, another researcher who's done some great documentaries on some of the big conspiracies, she's like, Dave, you got to look into this. And so unlike an open-minded conspiracy analyst, I went in closed-minded. I'm going to disprove the flat earth, prove the globe, and be done with this nonsense. And that's how you become a flat earther. Because when you actually look at the information that's being publicly, purposely hidden from you. If you actually look past the indoctrination of before you had critical thinking abilities, then you can see it. And once you see it, you can never unsee it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm interested though, obviously, your journey has probably been rife with some challenges. What do you think was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome?
I had to get to the point where I don't care what people think of me, as long as I'm speaking my truth. Their truth is that, their opinions really don't matter. Everyone has opinions, just like they have something else. It's, everyone's welcome to their opinion. Everybody has their soul's journey. But when, 2014, when I really first started this, you mentioned flat earth to anybody, instantly, you're an idiot, you're lost, you're, get out of your mother's basement, you get all those comments. But now you mention flat earth to somebody like you're like, interesting. I still think the earth is a globe, but I want to have this conversation. And so it's growing more and more and more. You know how an advertisement for something, not that I'm comparing this to advertisements, so just like the way the human mind works, you have to see it 3, 4, 5, 10 times. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, what is going on here? So now, if you mention flat earth to somebody, you're more likely to get a response other than you're an idiot. You get a response of, you know what, I've been hearing some things about that. I've been seeing some things on TikTok. I saw some videos, but I've got some questions. And hopefully we're here. We're going to answer some questions. And for anyone listening that thinks this is crazy, I offer 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof. You know what Bitcoin's at right now, right?
Yeah, I think it was just past 100.
Yeah, it plummeted to 97 though, plummeted. So hang in there, listen, and what happens is everyone's like, well, of course it's a globe, and they don't really know why. They just know, of course, it's a globe. And so then they'll bring up things like seasons, sunsets, boats over the horizon, and stuff that they've been indoctrinated with. But then when I show them how that works on a flat earth, they just gish gallop from point to point to point. And when they have no points left, they go, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. Right. And that's what we've all been programmed to say. And I know all the programming because I said all of those things myself. And once you understand why the lie, then you can't, then you're in forever, because why the lie is my favorite question of all. Right now, I'm not the people lying. I can only speculate, but it's pretty darn clear why the lie. And we'll get into that. We'll save that for the end. But because what I say is, instead of telling you why the motivation, first you have to see the crime. Like if you walked into a room and there's, 10 dead cats murdered. Okay. I used to say babies, but that's too horrifying. And then you don't look around and go, I don't believe it. What's the motive? Why would somebody kill the cats? No, you look at the cats, you say, okay, there's dead cats. Why? Then you figure out the motive. I'm going to show you all the dead cats. Not all of them. I'm going to show you as many as I can as we go through this discussion, if we go down that road. And then it's up to you whether you want to go further. One of the things is this isn't an insult, and it goes right along with procrastination. If you want to become rich, invent something that makes people lazier. Okay? Because right now, if you drop the pencil off your desk, are you going to get up, walk around, and pick it up? Or are you going to I could reach that with my foot, pull it over, then I can just lean over and grab it with my 2 fingers, right? You're going to look for the easiest way to do things, which isn't a bad thing. It's just, of course we want to figure out the simplest, most efficient way to do things. So the example I use is, if you have to cook dinner for your family, you got to think about it. You got to go shopping. You got to unpack the groceries. You got to prepare the food. You got to serve it. You have to clean the dishes. Hey, and you're done. What's easier than that? Multi-billion-dollar business, fast food. Just go pick it up and then eat it and throw everything in the garbage when you're done. What's easier than that? DoorDash, multi-billion-dollar business. If you leave the door unlocked and say, come in, the guy will put it on the table. You don't even have to get off the couch, right? So these are things that make things easier. What the saying that I steal from Crow 777 Radio, an awesome podcast with 2 R's in Crow, is belief is the enemy of knowing. And I've kind of changed it to belief is the lazy man's knowing. You believe that I live in Connecticut. If I told you I lived in Connecticut at the beginning of the show, normally I tell people, I'm from Connecticut. I'd say, where do I live? And you'd say, Connecticut. And I'd say, do you believe it or do you know it? Because belief is easy. It takes no effort. You can just believe anything, right? And knowing takes time and effort. You'd have to spend maybe an hour, go on Facebook, find my friends, look at the photos, look at the metadata, and do some work and go, yeah, he lives in Connecticut. But it's easier just to believe something, and something as innocuous as that. Why would you even need to check it? You're just like, why is he lying? Of course he lives in Connecticut. He sounds like he's got a New York accent, whatever. And you do this all day long, and you're storing information as true and false, true and false. I'm the president of the United States. Now, if I said, what did I tell you? You can recall that easy, and you stored it as false information, right? But I said, I live in Connecticut. You can recall it, and you're like, I believe he lives in Connecticut, but I'm not really going to verify it because I really don't care, But if you want to know the construct of this world, you have to do some work. And if you just Google it, you're going to get this, a flat disk floating in space. This is nonsense. No flat earther thinks this even represents anything what flat Earth is, right? The things that we've been programmed to say, what, are we the only pancake planet out there? Are the other ones pancakes also? Why haven't cats pushed everything off the edge? These are things that have been programmed into us. This is two fake models, a heliocentric fake model and a fake flat Earth model. People say, well, where's your photo of flat Earth? I could flip it around and say, where's your photo of the globe? And then when they show me one, I show them that it's fake, admittedly fake. And I'll show you that in a moment if you want. But here's a shot from 120,000 feet. The Earth is supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. That's faster than the speed of sound. You've never gone 1,000 miles an hour. And it's spinning to the east, which means the balloon should land to the west of where it took off. It's up there for 3.5 hours. Took off in Arizona, probably. It should be out in the ocean. It should be out past Hawaii. But it landed east of where it took off from. How'd that happen? It landed 80 miles east. So the Earth is turning this way. The balloon went up, outran the Earth, and landed in front, right? It should have gone up. The Earth should have spun out, and it should have landed west. But it didn't. Interesting, right? People say, Dave, what's the best flat Earth proof? Every single one of them is the best if you take the time to think about it, because they all prove that we're on a level, horizontal, topographical, non-rotating plane, right? And the globers like to come in and just point up at the sky. The lights in the sky, the lights in the sky, that's what we're doing. It's the lights in the sky. But let me ask you a question. I want to build an amusement park. I own all this land here. I want to build an amusement park that looks like this. This is my idea. So I need you to come, and you're an architect, and I need you to do some measurements. If you started measuring the lights in the sky, I'm firing you, right? I said, no, I want to build it on the land. I don't care what the lights in the sky are doing. It's the land that matters. But the best globe proofs that the globers have, are the only globe proofs, which aren't proofs at all, is the movement of the lights in the sky, right? And then if you really want to get down to it, the lights in the sky with the heliocentric explanation are ridiculous, right? Do you know what our sun is made out of?
They tell us helium and some other things in there.
98% helium and hydrogen. Helium and hydrogen defy gravity on Earth. You had some helium gravity and you let it go, it goes up. Okay? So they have no gravity. The Earth's gravity doesn't suck the helium down, right? And then no matter where you have gas, it violently fills the available space. So that is a nature of gas. Gas fills the available space, except on Earth, the space, we have a vacuum of space adjacent to high pressure air on a lumpy rocky Earth with curved, smooth water that no one's ever measured the curve on. Okay? That violates every law of thermodynamics. But in space, they tell us that there's so much helium and hydrogen that it gets near some gravity, maybe some rocks that stuck together or something, and it starts collapsing and creates a burning ball 93 million miles away from here that can hold on to, and that burning ball of hydrogen and helium now all of a sudden has its own gravity. It can hold on to Earth. It ignores our moon. It can hold on to Pluto. It ignores all the moons in between. It's ridiculous. And then people just short circuit when you talk about this. They go, well, I don't have a degree. I don't have a degree. This guy has a degree. So how do you get straight A's in school, in college? Memorize and regurgitate. Do not question. So if I wrote the book of BS, it's this thick, I gave it to you, you studied it, you tested, and you got 100 on the test, I'll give you a certificate, say you are now certified in BS, And when you're talking BS with people, if they challenge you, you can go, here's my certification, right? Where's your certification? And you are now an authority on BS. And that is the world that we live in.
Sure. You brought up a lot of interesting points there. The first one you brought up about the laziness is really good. The saying was, you put a wet paint sign on a park bench, the guy will go over and touch it. You tell him to count the stars in the sky, you tell him there's 1,000,000 and he'll believe you. So, I mean, again, like you said, belief is easy, but then what's your theory on why we would go ahead and touch the wet paint then, if it's easier to believe that it's wet?
Well, it's easy to check. That's something that doesn't take a lot of effort. You're right there. You want to sit down. I'll touch the paint. Let me see if it dried already. That's something that's easy. But if you said, hey, that paint is a special paint made out of special chemicals. You can only buy in one place. Person's will be like, yeah, okay, or whatever you say, because they're not going to go test the paint. Look for the paint can. That takes more effort. So when somebody, if you give something that's easy to check, something that is just super easy, that's good. They tell us that the sun, this is Earth. No, I'm sorry. They tell us nearly 1,000 Earths could fit in Jupiter. So here's Earth, here's Jupiter. Nearly 1,300 Jupiters could fit in our sun, and 5.1 billion suns could fit inside of this star, whatever, UI Scuddy or whatever it's called, right? This is a belief. This is a pseudoscience belief. The only thing that has ever been seen when it comes to stars is a point of light in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, we're talking about the sun for a little bit. Let me, let's say you knew nothing, right? Is that sun 93 million miles away? It kind of looks like it's in the clouds. Now, I'm not saying it's in the clouds, but it kind of looks like it's in the clouds, right? And if you look at the sun, this is from NASA. These are the different planets, and this is how the sun would look from all these different planets. Here it is from Earth, right? Mars, Jupiter. From Jupiter, that's how the sun would look. It would be like a large star, right? Have you ever looked up and seen Jupiter in the sky at night? I have. So
Yeah, with telescope, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, you can see it with your naked eye. It's the brightest star in the sky. It's the next thing brighter. The moon is the only thing brighter in the sky. It's like gigantic. You can't miss it. When Jupiter's out, you'll get one of those apps that tells you when it's out. And go, yeah, there it is. You can see it, and with your naked eye, you can see the little points of light around it that are that they claim are the moons. But you have to ask yourself, why do we see Jupiter? And the answer is because the light from the sun that's bouncing off of it. So there's a thing called the inverse square law of light. Every time you double the distance to a light, it's a quarter of the brightness, right? So light spreads out. So if you were on Jupiter, 400 million miles away from the sun, looking at the sun, tiny little dot, you have to believe that tiny little dot of light is lighting up the non-reflective gassy Jupiter. It's reflecting off of that, traveling 400 million miles to Earth, and we see it as that super bright star that literally is as bright as the sun, just smaller, right? What does that tell you? That tells you that the helio, it doesn't tell you what Jupiter is, but to me, it tells me that it's a light in the sky that's very close. It's a light in the sky that's very close, right? This was filmed in Florida, right? Weird. Is that sun 93 million miles away? Or is it something completely different? It's something completely different, right? How about this? Think about this. If our sun is a yoga ball, we live on a BB, right? That's the scale that they give us, right? And so if the sun was a mile over your head, let's say I bring the sun a mile over your head, it's 186,000 miles across. So that would be like holding the BB a millimeter underneath that yoga ball, okay? So when you look up, the sun would fill the entire sky. You understand? Mm-hmm. Right? So when you look up, it basically you wouldn't see any sky. You would just see the sun. It's a mile over your head. And so how do we make it smaller? We move it far away. So if we move it 93 million miles away, it's now the size of a coin held at arm's length, right? Just like we see it. Mm-hmm. If I doubled the distance, it would be a quarter of that size. If I doubled that, so now it's 4 times farther, it would be a 16th of the original size. If I doubled it again 8 times as far, it would be a 64th of the size that we see it. So that would be the size of a star at best. 8 times the distance of the sun. They tell us the sun is 8 light minutes away. So just to make the numbers easier, 8 times 8, 64, we'll call it a light hour. At 1 light hour away, the sun would be a very small star. At 2 light hours away, it would be impossible to see. At 4 light hours away, you can't even question. It's too small. Forget the dimness issue, right? That's 4 light hours away. Let's just make it 24 light hours away, just to say that is way too far for our eyes to be able to see. 24 times, so 1 light hour, 1 light day away, right? They tell us Polaris, our North Star that can be seen with their naked eye every night, is 46 times as big as the sun. All right, so now we have a thing called scaling invariance. They tell us that the sun and the moon, the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, but it's 400 times farther. So these aren't 400 times bigger. But if I want to make these the same size, I can go like this. Now they're the same size, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now this one's bigger. Now it's smaller, right? So scale, it's called scaling invariance. So 46 times, Polaris is 46 times bigger than the sun. So we made it 46 times farther than the sun. It would be the same size as the sun. So 46 times 8 light minutes, whatever that is, it would look like our sun in the sky if it was that far away. If I made it 46 light days away, remember we can't see the sun at 1 light day, it would be invisible. 46. Let's round that up to 2 months. So at 2 light months away, you can't see Polaris. Do you know how far they tell us Polaris is? 30 light years away. Light years, okay? These are pseudoscience, ridiculous numbers that make your mind just short circuit, go, I can't deal with numbers like that. Numbers, they don't teach us the law of big numbers. I'm going to tell you a big number that's not even a big number. 1 trillion. How long do you think 1 trillion seconds is?
Yeah, I'm just going to get, if I felt like I even wanted to answer that, I just get a calculator and figure it out.
Right. 31,000 years. 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. Let that sink in. If we were in a rocket, the closest star is 4.5 light years away, which is 25 trillion miles. So we got in a rocket ship that was going 1 mile per second, which is faster than anyone's ever gone. It would take us 31,000 years to go 1/25th of the way to that closest star. We got to do that 24 more times to get there, right? If Elon lent me a rocket that goes 100,000 miles an hour, inconceivable speed, it would only take us 1,000 years to get to the closest star. When we got there and we realized there was no life on any of the planets, ledge stars, whatever, the next star is magnitudes farther. So they make space so big that your mind cannot conceive of it, right? They don't want, the motions of the world, right? Besides the spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, we're spiraling through space. Let me show you. So they teach us, all the planets go around the sun, but they forget to tell you that the sun is moving also, right? So we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. We're orbiting at 66,600 miles an hour in a curved trajectory, speeding up and slowing down, average of 66.6, funny number, 1,000 miles per hour. And we're chasing the sun at about 500,000 miles per hour in a curved trajectory, but we don't feel any of it. Because we're in the program response is, well, on an airplane, you don't feel it. Sure, you feel it in an airplane, but I could drink a glass of water. You want to compare the airplane movement to the slowest speed, which is the spin. You have to double the speed of the airplane to 1,000 miles an hour. You have to remove the outer shell of the airplane because there is no outer shell over the earth. And you have to nosedive at 1 mile per minute just to follow the curve at that speed, right? So you don't fly off into space. Don't tell me you won't feel it. You're taking a nap on an airplane, all is well, smooth flight, no turbulence. The second that pilot starts descending, you immediately wake up. You're like, whoa, we're changing trajectories. You know it, right? You know it. Tiniest earthquake, you feel it. Your whole body's like, what the hell is going on? But we don't feel any of these. Let me show you this. This is called the hypersonic sled track, right? NASA has got a rocket-propelled sled. Ready? Here it comes. Didn't even see it, okay? It's going by a Mach 8.6. You can't fathom that speed. But you have to believe that we live on a rocky ball, lumpy rocky wall. Well, you ever see the model of the Earth without any oceans? So we're on a lumpy rock, surrounded by curved, smooth water, surrounded by high-pressure air that has no containment, which is impossible, adjacent to a vacuum. And we're going 10 times this speed around the sun, and we're chasing the sun at 100 times that speed. Look at this. This is a side view, right? You can't fathom that speed, right? We're going 10, that lumpy rock of water and everything in a curved trajectory is going 10 times that speed and 100 times that speed in another direction, and you don't feel any of it, right? And while we're spiraling through space, traveling 4.5 billion miles a year, never to return to where we were before, for some reason, none of the planets, none of the stars ever change positions. You know what parallax is? Something's close, something's far, and as you move, the one closer moves at a different speed, right? And so they're changing positions, right? That's called parallax. So we're corkscrewing through space, traveling 4.5 billion miles a year forever. The other stars, they say that some of them are binary, which means 80% of our stars are doing this while they're moving in their own directions. Some are trinary, right? And that invokes the three-body problem, which nobody can figure out. But never once have two stars changed positions due to parallax. That would happen every single day if all of these motions were happening. But the sky is a perfect clock. It is the most accurate clock ever because it is what time is based on. Crazy, right?
You raise some interesting points there. And, in and among this too, the galaxies are all moving around as well too.
Well, that's what they tell us. But again, if you look at sorry to interrupt, but if the galaxies at the distance they tell us, right? They go, well, you're not looking at that light. That star that galaxy or that star could have burned out 1 billion years ago. It's just the light that's coming to us, right? So we're looking 13 billion years back into the past when the universe was created and there's already organized galaxies. That's not even the official story, right? Nothing exploded, created everything. Then things started turning into galaxies over billions and billions of years. But we can see things 13 billion years ago that are perfectly organized. Or maybe we're just looking at something that's here within our system that's smaller and closer, right? You don't know how far something is or how big something is unless you assume. Unless you can touch it or measure it, it could be like if, just trying to think of an example. If I showed you a black background, here, I'll show you this. Question you have to ask yourself, I'm going to say this is pretty easy. Where is it? Here it is. All right. So, come on. I was going to ask you how big those were before the hand grabbed it, but I lost the pause button. Is that one the same size? Is that a sphere?
It should just be a half of a cut globe, right?
You think so, but it's flat, right? So you don't know what shape something is or how big it is until you see it. Is this one a sphere?
Now you got me. Now I'm going to say no, and it's going to be a sphere, isn't it?
Nope, it's a cup, right? Is this one a sphere? Maybe I'm tricking you. Maybe none of them are spheres. That one is a sphere. That one is a sphere. All right. So again, I'm just showing you an example of how you don't know what something is, right? And think about this. I don't normally show this one, but you seem like a real thinker, Chris. So here's the sun, and we're orbiting at 66,000, speeding up and slowing down, but we'll just say 66,600 miles an hour. And the moon is moving at 2,000 miles an hour around us. So the Earth is going this way at 67,000 miles an hour. So the moon has to be going less than 67,000 miles an hour relative to us, right? So it's slowing down. And when it gets back here, it has to be going 67,000 miles an hour. Otherwise, the Earth is going to run away from it, right? And now it wants to get in front of me. So now the moon has to speed up to 69,000 miles an hour because it's got to outrun the Earth by 2,000 miles an hour. Okay, I'm just rounding off the numbers, right? And so then it runs out in front of the Earth. And now it has to maintain that speed, otherwise the Earth will run into it. And now it has to slow down, right? It has to slow down to let the Earth pass it. Where's the mechanism for any of this? Mm-hmm. They don't teach you this in school. They don't teach you to think in school. They teach you to memorize and regurgitate and procrastinate.
Well, that is very true. And actually, I can tell you the answer that they give us, but again, I'd just be regurgitating what they told me, right?
Right.
they talk about gravitational forces and, it goes around and comes back and slingshot and all that fun stuff. But, you're right. I have no way of proving it.
Yeah. And well, you have a way of disproving it, though, because there's a thing called the three-body problem. I mentioned that a moment ago, right? So scientists can get any two bodies and say, in a supercomputer, and say, all right, I got a ball this big and a ball this big, and we're going to put them into orbit, and they can figure out exactly what they're going to do forever perfectly. The computer can model it perfectly, right? They can't do three bodies. All the supercomputers in the world, these are three bodies that are the same size. And no supercomputer can figure out what they're going to do next, because as soon as they start deviating, they go into what's called chaos mode, right? And this is what would be going on in our solar system, in our galaxy, in our universe, but it doesn't, right? They tell us the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon and 400 times farther. What are the odds of a total solar eclipse happening? What are the odds? It's more than a trillion. I'll tell you that. It's more than a trillion to one that's the case, right? It's more than a trillion. It's more than a trillion to one. But the problem is there's eclipses every year, and they come in different patterns. And then every 18.1 years or something around the 18-year mark, the entire pattern repeats exactly again and again and again and again, like a perfect clock. How is that possible in a gravitational world? They tell us, oh, we're having a planetary alignment, Jupiter, Mars, Pluto, they're all lighting up, right? Shouldn't the gravities be pulling on each other, right? If the sun, the helium and hydrogen ball in the space vacuum, and just call it Narnia instead of a space vacuum, can hold on to Pluto, how come when the sun's coming around the Earth towards the sun doesn't just go, give me that sucker. Let me just pull that sucker away from you. When it comes around towards the sun, it should speed up. And when it tries to go away from the sun, it should slow down, because the sun's pulling. No effect whatsoever. Oh, well, it's the Earth's gravity is closer to the sun, and it negates the sun's gravity, but the sun can hold on to Pluto and Uranus and everything else, right? It's ridiculous. It's so stupid. You know what I say? People say, I can't figure it out. It's not because you're stupid. It's because it's stupid, right? You're not stupid. We are given common sense, God-given common sense, and all of that is stamped out of us as children, right? Anything that happens, they just literally take your creativity away. They pound in nonsense, right? Right? Modern education, creating people smart enough to repeat what they're told and follow orders, and dumb enough to think this makes them smarter than everyone else. That is what our education system is. Want to hear the good news? Don't send your kids to college.
Well, that'd be a little bit of good news, I guess.
Yeah. Don't send your kids to college. And, I mentioned before, Crow 777 Radio, his podcast, I've been suggesting this for a year. I call it the Crow College, right? He does everything, not just space and flat Earth. There's very little of that, actually. But, just about government, health, taxation, just everything. And I said, don't send your kids to college. Have them listen to 5 episodes a week. So 2 hours of an audio podcast every week. And then that's it. And, maybe send them to live in a house in Cape Hatteras or something, with some other friends. And that will be their college. And they can go kite surfing, and they could do all sorts of stuff and find out. And a whole bunch of families did this. And they said a year later, it's less than a year later, but they said, we've been doing it for 2 years, whatever. And our kids are now motivated. They're interested in real things instead of video games and nonsense. They wake up with bright eyes and curiosity, right? Because they're learning useful stuff, right? You go to college, that is the nail in your coffin, right? Now, if you're lucky enough to have a family that has tons of money and there's no burden of cost, okay, you have 4 years to hang out with friends, make some relationships. There's something to said about that. College is all about, learning to live on your own and making friends. That's what it is. The education part is nonsense. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want to become a brain surgeon, an orthopedic surgeon, sure, you need to have some technical training. But you want anything else, I know kids that go to college, to go to Ivy League school, they come home and they start selling insurance. Okay? I'm like, what? You don't need a college education for that, And that's a good job compared to what a lot of them are getting. It's nonsense, right? They want you to believe that this guy Charles Manson, is a cult leader, when in fact, this guy is the cult leader, Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? This is the
Sure.
one that keeps you in a prison for your mind.
Interesting.
It is interesting. I'll take an interesting.
No, it's I like to see things from all different views, and you've raised a lot of good questions, and again, a lot of it comes down to not even being able to test any of this ourselves, really.
We can test it. I'm going to show you a few tests ourselves that you can do. And again, don't believe anything I say. So there's a thing called revelation of the method, right? I believe in this world that we live in this construct, that they can't take away our free will. They can trick us. They always have to tell us the truth. So this is Sesame Street kids, right? What do you notice here? Look in the fiction section. You got a globe and a rocket. Okay? Space is fake. The globe is fake. And they're telling us. It's right there. They're telling us. That's not by accident. They're telling us, right? Truth in the news, truth in movies and cartoons, lies in the news, right? Here's Homer coming into scams, globe, and the devil. Interesting, right?
Well, they say that NASA was never a straight answer.
Yeah, well, not a space agency also. So this is a workbook for kindergarten, first grade, I'm not sure, young kids, right? This is 2 fake models. So the kid has a choice, 2 fake models, right? And so they literally indoctrinate kids. There's globes in every classroom, right? Years ago, every kid had their own globe, right? This is total indoctrination. Total indoctrination.
No, it definitely is. I've always thought that, schools were just a method of teaching people how to stay in line more than anything else.
100%. And if you look at all of our history teachings, let me just run through this. This isn't just flat Earth, right? The theater of war, right? They lie about the USS Maine to get us into the World War with Spain, right? This is, you know about the US Maine, the false flag, right? They blew up this ship. They said it was an enemy, but it was really us that did it. Disclosed documents, not a conspiracy theory, a conspiracy fact. They lied about the Lusitania to get us into World War I. We bombed our own ship to start World War I. Okay, they lied about Pearl Harbor to get us into World War II. Okay, that was all another false flag. They lied about the Gulf of Tonkin to get us into the Vietnam War. We blew up our own ship again, right? How many times? They lied about killing babies to start the Gulf War, right? This is one of the sheik's granddaughters who went up and told the fake story about them throwing the incubators on the floor, the babies on the floor out of the incubators. Fake, right? Admitted fake. They lied about weapons of mass destruction to start the Iraq War. They lied about the greatest leader of all time, Muammar Gaddafi. On my channel or on my app, you can just put in the Great Man-Made River. You'll cry when you watch it. This guy was the greatest leader of all time, and they killed him. And they lied about the attacks to keep us in Syria, right? Remember this on the news? This was fake. This is fake. These kids did not get blown up. Now, yes, there's kids getting blown up all the time. So you have to ask me, are they going to lie about anything else? The answer is yeah. They're going to lie about who you are, where you are, what you are to control you, right? That's what this is all about. It's all about control. It's all about control. And that's it. Let's talk about a scientific proof you can do, right? Very, very easy. So water needs containment. A large body of water needs containment. Globers like say, well, look at a raindrop. It's round. Anything bigger than a gallon of water. Can you show me anything more than a gallon of water that's not contained? No.
Yeah.
Right? Bathtub, side of the bathtub's gone, water's gone. Pond, the walls of the shore of the pond is higher than the pond. It contains the pond. Lake, same thing. The world oceans are the containment of our world oceans are the sides of the ocean. What is that? The sides of the ocean is land that is higher than the water, right? So if you look at the average height of all, well, I'll get back to that in a moment, of all the continents in the world, Antarctica is over double number 2. Antarctica is the shoreline of our world pond, right? Let me show you Antarctica. Where'd it go? So Antarctica, they want you to say this is the edge of the world. This is indoctrination. This is the shoreline of Antarctica. It's 200 feet higher than the water, right? It's like the edge of a lake. Well, the edge of our world pond is Antarctica. They want you to believe in this nonsense with the flat with the disc in space, and that's not at all, right? So let me get rid of that. So this is just a video of the shoreline of Antarctica, right? Just showing you some close-up shots. And this is the shoreline where we're not allowed to go explore. Getting back to we see too far. So here's a canal. Large bodies of water at rest lie flat. When it gets cold, it freezes flat. You ever been ice skating? Is the lake curved? Well, we're too small. It's not, you won't notice the curve. So I got 6 inches camera, super zoom camera, P1000, and we put these lights out here, 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles, and 5 miles. Now you say, well, that's not very far. But according to globe math, not flat earth math, this light should be 30 feet below the curve, 22, 15, and 9 feet below the curve. So my mouth is below the curve. Can you see it? No, because it's behind physical curvature, right? But we can see this. So they'll say, oh, refraction, right? So here you are. Here's your tangent to the Earth. And all of these lights would be below your line of view. But they have to say, this one refracted up and stopped right there. This one refracted up, stopped right there, same and same. And so they all refract up different amounts and stop to make them appear to be at your tangent of a sphere that nobody could ever measure. So, or maybe we just live on a flat Earth and all of those are just there across the flat Earth. Maybe, maybe. And here's a shot from this is in Malibu, looking at Mount San Jacinto, if I said that right? And here it is, just over 7,000 feet tall. Now this is smog, which is hiding the bottom, but this is with an infrared camera. If you turn off the infrared, blue sky, and you can't see the mountain at all, but it's right here. Now they say that infrared has less refraction. So how can this be refraction, right? You'd only see the very, very tip of this mountain. So people say, why don't we see the Eiffel Tower from New York? And that's a program response. But if you think about it, light attenuates through the atmosphere. So the atmosphere becomes opaque over distance. If I had 100 panes of glass in between us, you couldn't see me, even though the glass is clear. But one pane, you couldn't even see the glass unless it had a reflection on it, right? So here's a shot from Alousa, France. We're looking out over the mountain. There's 175 miles away is Mount Canigou. Can't see it. Must be curved Earth, right? So the light that's bouncing off of Mount Canigou is not powerful enough to push to 175 miles of thick atmosphere. But the sun migrates in between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer every 6 months. So twice a year, it lines up with the viewers from this spot and Mount Canigou. And when it goes beyond it, it backlights it. The very top here should be over a half a mile below the curve at that distance. Using globe math, it should be at that distance. It should be. And now they say, well, the mountain and the sun are both below the curve, but the sun is refracting up and the mountain, the dark side of the mountain, is refracting up and blocking the refracted sun. It's stupid. That's why it doesn't make any sense. It's not because you're stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's absolutely ridiculously stupid. Here's a shot. We call this one the Black Swan. Got a camera. It's like 1 foot off the water, 9.4 miles, 6.2 miles away. There should be 59 feet of curvature, but we can see the surface of the water from miles beyond it, right? This thing should be 59 feet below a physical curve. So you have to believe that everything refracts up. The farther it is, the more it refracts, but it all stops at your eye level. Nothing refracts higher in the sky, right? If you were standing on one side of your house and I'm standing on the front, and let's say just we're in Kansas, there should be a point where I walk away and eventually you can see me over the house because I'd refract up, according to Globers. Stupid. It's super stupid. So I'll show you one more thing as far as light attenuating through the atmosphere. So here is on a super cold day, super clear, if I can find it, super clear day, coming. There it is. Good. Go there. I had my drone up and I'm looking out west, right? So the sun, if we're spinning, should always move across the sky and just go down, 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 and it should never stop, right? But the sun went down, 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 and then it stopped. It just sat here. Now, my friends are at the beach over there, and they said the sun set 10 minutes ago, bottom up. But I'm just watching the sun here. This is super sped up, okay? It's just going away, and all of a sudden, this light can no longer push through the atmosphere, right? I'll bring it back. It's just going away, and the sun, the brightest thing we know of, its light can't even push through the atmosphere. So how does day and night work on a flat Earth, right? How does day and night work, right? And the answer is because the sun is a local light, and the atmosphere attenuates its light from spreading, right? Let me show you two more things, and then I'll throw it back to you. Here's a rainbow in Canada, a rainbow in Australia, which would be farther from the pole, and then Antarctica. It's kind of, rainbows reflect the mirror above them. So it seems like we're getting closer to the firmament. It's interesting. This is somebody discovered that recently, and I just find it quite interesting. But I want to show you, where is it? There it is. If you have a single source light in a black room at a basketball, you can only light up half of that basketball, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Well, more or less.
Well, more, it'll be a little fuzzy around the light equator, if you will, but it's half the basketball.
Yeah.
Right? Half the basketball. So we only have a single source light. This is from the Weather Channel. And on this day, they said that 70 some odd percent of the Earth was in light, which is 99% of the population, right? So it's not 99% of the Earth. It's 70% of the Earth was in daylight at the same time. So wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense. But if you look at this, so here it is. This is just a Mercator map showing you, this is from day and night, right? It's not the layout of the world, but it is, California is just about dusk or sunrise, right? South America is all in the light. All Europe, Russia, all in the light. The only thing in the darkness is Australia and these islands. Okay, this is an actual day and night from time and date. All right. So this is the Flat Earth Gleason's map that we like. We're going to put the sun in the same spot. That's our sun. And we're going to lift it up, and it makes the same things. We got South America's in the light, California, just about, it's just morning. Just Australia and these islands are in the dark. It's pretty close, right? Now, this isn't showing you because there's all optics with the dome and how the light bends. It's not always a perfect circle, but this is pretty damn close, right? But that doesn't matter. What matters is this. We're going to look at it on a globe. So I got a single source light. The globe is tilted as it's supposed to. Now watch right here. The pink will be Australia. So we'll put Australia in the dark, just like it was. And all of this is lit here. We'll go over here. Problem is South America's in total darkness. America's in total darkness, right? So let's spin it out, and we'll put California right on the dawn, right on the early. Here's California, just about to get light. South America is in the light. And when we come back over here, all of Russia is in the dark, right? I'll spin it out. All of this should have been in the light. It doesn't work on your globe. Measurements on land are pretty darn accurate. Measurements over the water are all lies. Interesting, right?
Definitely is. Definitely a good and good conversation. And I know we're coming up pretty close to the time. I guess my question, my sort of closing question is, it's all about control. Okay. But why wouldn't they want us leaving then? Like, what is the purpose of that control?
So if you had a pet tiger, wild tiger, and you put him in a 1/4 acre fenced in yard, he ain't going to be happy. Put him in 10 acres, he's going to pace that fence. Put him in 500 acres, maybe when he sees the fence, he'll be like, big deal, right? You put a human, there's no size fence that will keep him happy. Put him in a 500 million acre farm, he's going to want to know what's on the other side of that fence. So what they did is they took the flat Earth, right? Well, let me show you a better one. So if this is the Earth, right? All of this is Antarctica. We don't know what's out here in the outer space, right? Right? What if the world was, our pond looked like this? This is Antarctica, and these are extra territory or extra terra. So if somebody lived out here on the extra terra, they would be an extraterrestrial from the outer space, right here on flat Earth. And so what they did is they cut out our world and they wrapped it around a sphere, and they said, you can't go explore this area. You can go to the little tip right here, but you can't go explore that area. It's off limits, and all the countries in the world agree. Antarctic Treaty, right? So my question is, this is an old map that was found in a Buddhist temple, published in Hawaiian newspaper in 1910, I'm sorry. 1910? Yeah, January 11th, 1907. Is that what it says? 1907, right? Showing like 30 some odd continents out here. And we found some evidence that there's ships that go out here, some sort of trade route. So what's going on? That's why, right? That's why. Here's an old map, right? Like the old maps of the world are amazing, right? Amazing. There's so much information out there. And again, don't believe anything I'm telling you. You need to go take the time and verify it. And if you Google it, they're going to feed you nonsense. You're going to find an interview I did with a guy that calls himself Professor Dave. Google's going to serve that one right to you, because the guy is just a pompous, failed musician, calls himself a professor, and he's smart at math, but he'll just tire your mind out. And it's the only one that they want to show you, but it actually converts a lot of people. People are like, wait, why is he acting like that? And then they end up looking farther. FlatEarthDave.com, all the information you need is there. I have this app. Here's the challenge. Get the app. It's $3, one-time charge. And every day there's a daily video right here. And I just say, don't believe anything, right? Belief's the enemy of knowing. Watch the daily video while you have your morning coffee, breakfast, whatever. And one just every day for 2 weeks. At the end of that 2 weeks, if you think the Earth is a globe, you can send me your proof and you win 3 Bitcoins. But before you do, you have to hit the question mark button. And that opens up the frequently asked questions, so you don't waste my time. You're like, hey, what about tides? What about circumnavigation? What about eclipses? Or why the lie, my favorite. And all of these videos are being hidden from you, right? Where does the sun go? Great videos. All of them are being hidden from you. And I guarantee you're not going to win the 3 Bitcoins. But if you think you can, you think I'm an idiot, then you must know that the Earth is a globe. Where's your proof? Where's your proof? Right? And we didn't even get into NASA. That's a whole nother thing. But in here, just click this ISS button. And by the way, our government our government pays NASA $75 million every day. But NASA just gave Elon Musk $850 million to destroy the space station, because the gig is up. It's being exposed, and for the fakery that it is. And so now they're just taking more of our money. It's all going into black budgets, but all the information is here, right? On my website, FlatEarthDave.com, just scroll down. If you don't want to get the app, that's cool. To the crash course. And there's a list of videos there. Watch the first 5 videos, and I guarantee you will no longer be on a globe. But you will never find these videos on your own. That's the interesting part. You can search top 10 reasons the Earth is flat, and Google will feed you top 10 reasons the Earth is a globe. Why are they doing that?
That right there is, I think, the best question on the show, because, it's supposed to be unbiased. It's supposed to show you the content that's put out there. So,
every real flat Earth video, which won't show up in your searches, has a Wikipedia warning. Flat Earth is an ancient, disproven cosmological concept. How is it disproven? Right? We can see too far. You can't have high pressure next to low pressure without a container. Water needs containments, right? There's no parallax. All of this, every proof is a flat Earth proof. Their proofs are everywhere. Nothing goes into the only works on a globe. Some things work on a flat Earth, on a globe and a flat Earth, but nothing works only on a globe. Let me show you one more thing. So on a globe, You got the north on the top and the south on the bottom. The equator goes around the middle, right? So there's airports everywhere. Would any flight going from any northern airport to any other northern airport, would it ever need to fly below the equator to get there in its quickest route?
I guess in theory, no.
No. And guess what? None of them ever do. So the same should be true for southern flights. If you're flying from a southern location, let's say South America to Australia, right? You should be able to go boom, right over. Let's take a look at this flight. So here's a flight. Now over here, we have New Zealand and Australia's over there, and we have Argentina in South America. Now, FlightAware says this is the Great Circle route, the quickest route. All right, makes sense. I get it. I kind of would fly over here, but who cares, right? You're not flying over Antarctica, breaking the treaty. There's places to land out here if there was an emergency, right? This is the flight route. New Zealand, up over the equator, all the way to San Francisco, all the way over to Texas, and then all the way back down to Argentina. Why? What's the shortest distance between 2 points? New Zealand, San Francisco, Houston, Texas, Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
On the Flat Earth Clock app, where is it? If you go to the images section and you type in southern, that'll do it. Here are all these different routes, including emergency landings that land in impossible places in record amounts of time, right? Auckland, New Zealand to Los Angeles to Lima, Peru. Why don't they just go over here? This leg is shorter than this leg, but they go all the way up here and all the way down. Look. It's a straight line. There's countless. They're over and over. The World Cup just happened. Now, that happened a little while ago, and a Buenos Aires team won. They were in Doha, had their own plane, so they didn't need to go pick up anyone else. They didn't need to go to any hub. They didn't need to drop anyone else off, right? So they went to Rome to get fuel, and then to Buenos Aires. Well, here's Doha, here's Rome, and here's Buenos Aires.
Wow. Well, you've certainly given a lot to think about, Dave. I'm very appreciative of your time. I know that you're probably a very busy guy, and we're grateful to have had you give these explanations to us on this show. Again, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
Final thing, Chris, you're a great host, a great listener, a great thinker. I can see it. I appreciate you. And believe nothing I say. Verify everything. My website, flatearthdave.com, has all the tools that you need. If you want to really look into this, the app is literally the best way. I'm not here just to sell apps. Don't buy the app. Go take the crash course. Those videos alone will turn you into a flat earther. But once you become a flat earther, you're going to want access to more stuff. It's $3 app. And that's how I support myself. But that's how I support the app, right? Because the app costs a lot of money. It's 5 figures a month just to run this thing. So there is a subscription on the app. That's if you want to do like profiles and message other people. There's a homeschool section, but if we go, let's just show you real quick. This is the friend finder on here. This will show you all of the other people that are around me. These are all the other people that have the app. So I can tap on a profile. I can see that person. I can message them, and literally, you can find your tribe in here. We have 208,000 people on the friend finder right now, and it is amazing. And there's a meetup maker. There's a matchmaker. There's also, we also have a referral program. The subscription is $11 a year. $11 a year. Okay. You ever buy someone a margarita, right? If you can get your referral code, right? In the friend finder, just click this middle button and you'll have a random number right here. You put in your referral code. And then when if you show somebody the app, and say, I want to get the app, use your referral code, you get a point, 11 points you can trade in for a subscription, but you also we have a cryptocurrency called Dome, and you earn a good amount of Dome, which is actually worth more than the $3 for every referral. So it's a super fun way to spread the truth. We're trying to make it so people can have some fun and make a little money while doing it, but that's it. I mean, it has so much more on the app, but I'm not here to sell apps. Now, the trolls, you're going to have more troll visitors than anything. They're going to say, I'm a grifter, the app doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. right? But they'll never offer you a globe proof. And if you look at their channels, I call them the globe proof channels because there's zero content on there. FlatEarthDave.com.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Dave. And, just everybody else out there, I hope that you found this a little bit informative. Again, he's saying, don't take anything at face value. Just ask questions. Be curious.
Yeah.
It's just any way to get, you should be anyway. So anyway, thanks a lot for tuning in, and we will see you again next time.
All right, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.